everyone. Welcome back to the Canadian Ruck. This is Jamie Gray. This pod, we feature Canadian rugby player Kai Lloyd, who goes by Kai. Kai has about 13 test caps with Canada right now. He was on the 2019 World Cup squad that traveled to Japan. Unfortunately for Kai, didn't see any playing time, but he was there taking in all the action. He's currently a free agent in Major League Rugby, previously playing with the Toronto Ares. And if you don't remember, he scored two beautiful tries in the recent summer tour, one against Wales, one against England. And he was robbed, I think, against the second in England. It was close. It might have been spilled forward, or he might have missed touching it down. But I would have given it to him because it was an amazing, amazing effort. Before I get to Kai, how do you contact us? Well, just a little plug. Where are we? Well, we're on Twitter at Canadian Ruck. We're on Instagram, _Canadian_Ruck. We're on Facebook at the Canadian Ruck. And our email is thecanadianruck@gmail.com. Where can you find us? We're on YouTube, so you can watch us. We're on Spotify, we're on iTunes, we're on Google Podcasts, and CastBox, so you can listen. So when you watch or listen, make sure you follow, subscribe. When you follow and subscribe, make sure you share, make sure you leave reviews. It's great that we can share these great rugby Canadian stories with as many listeners as possible. If you don't know where to go, if you want to look at past guests, go to thecanadianruck.weebly.com. That's where all our content is stored. What's going on in rugby news? Well, there's been a few things. Locally, this one's pretty good. I love this. Here, right in St. John, New Brunswick, so about a 15-minute drive from me, the Atlantic Championships are going on right now. Great story. We have over 450 players descending on New Brunswick from New Brunswick, PEI, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, in town for the Atlantic Championships. Divisions include U15, U17, and U19 women, U15, U17, and U19 men. The tourney kicked off Friday morning, and all the finals are going to be played on Sunday. Today, I was able to take in the U19 men's New Brunswick versus Nova Scotia in the semis today. 18-0 win for the Celtic. Good game. Pretty good tackling, absolutely. You can tell that rugby's been off for a couple of years. There's some rust for sure, but the boys on both sides of the ball played well. This is the first time I've been able to watch provincial rugby since being released. That's a different story. That's a story for another podcast. Still harbor some ill feelings towards what happened there. But it's the first time I've actually been able to watch a provincial side game, and a handful, if not 8 or so, of the kids on New Brunswick, I actually coached them a couple of years back. So it was nice to see them back playing. And we can get into that another time, issues I have with the New Brunswick Rugby Union, issues I have with Rugby Canada, because everybody has issues with their provincial sporting body in rugby at the higher level of Canada. Not something I want to get into this pod, but it's something maybe that we can talk about at another time. What else is going on? Well, this is just a brief one. 7 Series, as we know, Vancouver Sevens is coming up in September. The tickets are going on sale August 12th. So if you're in BC, tickets are going on sale Thursday. It's a big day. It's also my birthday. Make sure you send some love. I'm joking. You can send money. I'd be better at it. I'm joking. Anyway, the tourney schedule September 18th, 19th at BC Place. Tickets are going on sale this Thursday, August 12th. Make sure you get them because I think they're limiting seats. What else is going on? Well, elsewhere, Australia Sevens is in trouble. Not sure if you heard this or not, but all 13 members of Australia's Olympic Rugby Sevens team have been given a formal warning following excessive drinking on their flight home from the Olympic Games. Rugby Australia is currently preparing to launch a review of both Sevens program that could lead to significant cuts. I'm not sure how they had excessive drinking. I thought airlines usually limited how many drinks you could have, and you can't smuggle any on, so I'm not sure where they gained access to all this liquor. However, either way, Rugby Australia insists no rugby players were responsible for damage on this boozy flight, nor did they vomit in the bathroom while drinking, while representatives of other sports potentially did. Concerns were raised by Japan Airlines, who informed the Australian Olympic Committee. Rugby Australia boss Andy Marino stated, Rugby Australia has a zero-tolerance approach towards poor behavior and expects the highest standards of conduct at all time. It is without a doubt that this will have a bearing on how we look at the Sevens environment going forward. Whilst we acknowledge the disappointment experienced through the Olympic campaign, as well as a challenging environment the athletes have had to deal with since the start of the pandemic, this is not an excuse for the behavior. This behavior is entirely unacceptable and not benefiting any athlete who represents Australia or aspires to do so. Very strong words by the boss. I also like the no assholes philosophy, much like New Zealand and the All Blacks. Rugby Australia is holding players accountable, and that is a good thing, not just for Rugby Australia, but for the game of rugby itself. This happens at all levels of rugby, whether it's, boozing, whether it's just acting asinine. And that's part of the culture. That's part of the fun of it. But there is a line that can be crossed, and it sounds like this line was crossed here. And when that line gets crossed, we need to set examples, I believe, so that players and fans know that we take these issues seriously. You can't endanger people on a flight potentially by drinking too much. That can cause a lot of serious concerns, especially when it's the entire rugby team on a flight over the Pacific or Indian. I don't even, my geography sucks. Whichever ocean they would have been flying over from Japan down to Australia. I like the fact that Rugby Australia is going to give a full inquiry, find out what happened, and then deal with it hopefully appropriately to make sure that it doesn't happen again. This seems to slide sometimes in rugby and sports nowadays. And I'd like to think that rugby holds our standards of respect and integrity a little bit higher than other sports. So hopefully Rugby Australia can figure out what happened and deal with it, and the players can deal with the consequences. What else? Well, the Lions, again, no spoilers in case you haven't watched the match. I watched it earlier today. What a great series it's been. What a great third test it has been. I admit I was very hesitant. The series wasn't going to happen at all due to COVID cases in South Africa. And I've mentioned that a few times before, especially after so many Springboks caught the COVID. But it was pulled off. Empty stadiums, limited crew on sites. But South Africans were a great host. Naturally, they were. I'm sure the Lions would have loved to get the old Lions style of touring with the shenanigans and going out and doing their thing, but that will need to wait until Australia in 2025. But I will say, man, I haven't been a fan of how many on-field conversations happen during this tour. You read the banter on Twitter, you read the banter on social media, and a lot of people say it's like soccer now. Players are diving or players are embellishing. Yeah, that's been creeping in, but so has the side conversations between not just the captains, but players questioning the ref. It seems like anytime a try was scored or a questionable tackle happened, the ref had to defend his decision to the captains and to the players. That's not rugby. That's soccer. That's hockey. That's something else. That's not rugby. These constant discussions added too much time into the games. It also showed a true lack of respect toward the officials. Hopefully this is something World Rugby can dig into and stamp out, because the more this happens, the more we lose that precious side of the game of rugby that we've cherished for so long. What else? Well, if you're on YouTube, you're seeing the beautiful picture of DTH Van der Merwe and his family, as you know, because the LA Guiltinis are your champions. They won the MLR championship last weekend over Rugby ATL with a 31-17 win. Matt Guito, DTH, amazing matches that capped off a Hollywood run for this young franchise. LA have claimed the title in their first season as an organization, but they also have some farewells. Head coach Darren Coleman, he's departing to go over to Australia to the Waratahs. Man of the match, Magito, stopped short of confirming his retirement, and Adam Ashley Cooper, another Aussie, confirmed that he will call a close to his storied professional career. The MLR season finished with all 99 matches being completed and none lost to the COVID-19 pandemic. That is absolutely amazing. A 13th team, the Dallas Jackals, they're set to join in 2022, and other cities are lining up to begin their quest to lift the MLR shield. Hopefully we get a few more Canadian franchises to even things out and get more of our boys back on this side of the pond playing professional rugby in North America. Coming up now, Kai Lloyd. East Coast Roast Coffee is an independent micro roaster coffee in St. John, New Brunswick. What microbreweries are to beer, East Coast Roast is to coffee. They source from independent farmers and co-ops all over the world and roast in small batches to bring something interesting to the local coffee scene. If you're into really fresh coffee, head on over to their website at eastcoastroast.ca or pick up beans from Jeremiah's, Paris Crew, The Art Warehouse, or Woodchucks in St. John, New Brunswick. Congratulations to the winners of the East Coast Roast Coffee. But we have three winners: Greg Hovey of St. John, New Brunswick, Mike Chapman of Mahone Bay, Nova Scotia, and Mike Gray, no relation, of St. John, New Brunswick. Congrats, boys and gentlemen. We'll get to that coffee very, very soon. All right, welcome back to Canadian Ruck. We're fortunate enough we have Kai Lloyd on. Kai's from Mississauga, Ontario, and he's going to talk to us today about his rugby career. And he might know he just got back from the UK, played Wales, played England, scored 2 amazing tries, got robbed of a third, in my opinion. It was... That TV review was pretty close. I would have given it to you for sure. But Kai, welcome to the Canadian Ruck.
Hi, thanks for having me.
All right, so let's talk about your origin, like your early years of rugby, high school, the Blues, Queens, this Canada Selects. Like, how did you get involved and make your way up to that national team?
So actually, I used to play a lot of soccer growing up. My family's a big soccer family. My in-laws actually still have soccer, and I always get laughed at for that since I'm playing rugby now. But growing up, I played soccer. I like it. I like it. But growing up, I was playing a lot of soccer, and in grade 8, got cut from my rep soccer team. I was looking to try something new. My brother, he was 2 years older than me at Streetsville playing rugby, and he was also a big soccer guy, but he said the soccer team at our high school wasn't very good. Everyone played rugby. It was like just like a cult over there. It's really big. So when I joined in grade 9, I just decided I'd play rugby instead and try that out. And ever since then, I really loved it. Like some of the coaches now at my high school, coach from Ontario and coach for the Upright Rogues Academy program. So they're very, very big on rugby, and they saw me play and they thought I should try out for the Ontario age grade program, and I've just kept going since then, pretty much.
So you did have quite the track record, like the Blues and Queen's University. How was your development at Queen's? Like Queen's is a pretty big school, pretty good rugby program. How was that?
Yeah, it was phenomenal. It's funny, the only reason I ended up going to Queen's is because I couldn't get into McMaster. For 3 or 4 years, I was diehard McMaster, wanted to get into engineering program over there, but I couldn't get into that program with the computer science program. I was off by a few percentages. I applied to Queen's kind of on a whim. I knew the rugby school the rugby had been going pretty well over there, and a few of my friends who weren't even rugby players were going there, so I thought might as well apply. And then when it came time, it was pretty much between Guelph and Queen's, and just talking to some of the players in both teams, I thought Queen's was just a better choice for what I wanted out of me, and it worked out really well. The coaching staff there, especially coaches like Pete Hugenboss, who is retired from being the head coach now, but he was just amazing in pushing guys forward and really getting the skill development and the detail we needed. I remember before my first U20 camp, he comes up and says, these are the skills that they're going to be looking for and that you're like not as good at. Let's work on these skills this week in practice. So he literally put in drills specifically to get me prepped for the under 20 camp. That's I thought cool. That have a coach do that, and it wasn't just prioritizing players over the team, but it was doing a bit of both and making sure you push guys and get them the skills that they need to improve. I thought that was really amazing.
Yeah.
The S&C program was pretty solid over there too. I got pretty strong, and they had a pretty good community, and the fans at Queen's just so amazing. Like every game was just packed full. So it was such an amazing experience playing at Queen's. I came out at the end of those 5 years being athlete of the year because I just loved it so much. I was given so much back and being involved because it's just such a great place to play rugby.
And did you ever think what would have happened if you had to get into McMaster? Would your story be a little different, do you think, now, or what?
Yeah, I wonder because there's a bunch of guys who are coming out of McMaster now who are getting caps and playing. So I don't think that my rugby career might have been over, but and they also had a really well S&C program and really great coach at the time too. That's why I wanted to go there. But Queens, we won 4 of the 5 years that I was there. So I think I just got a little bit more of an edge and probably got there a bit faster than I would have potentially at McMaster. So I think I might still be here if I was going to McMaster, but I think it might have taken a bit longer just based on the skills that I needed at the time. It just suited me being at Queen's, and I think the opportunities I got.
It definitely seems like it's worked out for you. So
yeah, for sure.
You played a season with the Arrows before COVID. How was that? Major League Rugby, it just finished its 4th year. How did you enjoy playing with the Arrows? Is there a comeback? Are you going to go back to the Arrows? Is that stuff all up in the air right now?
Yeah, I think it's a bit up in the air, but I think going into the season, it was a bit tough. I wasn't getting a lot of game time. A lot of guys starting over me, and I didn't really see that changing with the years to come. There's a lot of competition for my position. We had some 5 or 6 international back 3, which is a lot for a team. And I didn't really feel that my selection was going to change because, you know, the coaches that were there, a lot of them were coaches that I played with for years. So they really know everything I've got. So I thought, if they're not selecting me now, they're probably not going to select me in the future. And I really enjoyed my time there. The guys were great. And I love the coaching staff, but we had a conversation with them, and I decided that it wasn't really best for my development staying there. I thought I'd have better opportunities somewhere else and get the training that I needed. And there's no hard feelings or whatsoever. They understood where I was coming from. They saw my points. And so for now, I just thought that it was better to try something else. And especially after the World Cup year, the 7th Olympics are coming up. So I thought, you know, I'll take a shot there. If anything, it'll help me improve my fitness and my skills, which is the two big work-ons that I needed. And, you know, it's a long shot, but worth taking a shot. But then COVID happened. Yeah. So then another year went by. So that was kind of tough.
But you used that time with COVID productively. Like, you were trying out with the sevens, you were doing some volunteer work with Pacific Pride. That's stuff that great rugby people do. You're giving back. Talk to us about your involvement with with that volunteer stuff where you were helping out.
Yeah, so I'd say it's more that I wasn't really helping out because I was training with them. I wasn't a coach for the Pride. Just coming after the COVID came back up, is kind of my window with the sevens. It was kind of closing, and I knew that, you know, I had to get back into the 15s mindset so that I could stay getting caps. And I knew, just based on the time that I was training, that it was longer and longer away from me making sevens. So, you know, it was only, the whole plan was really just to maybe go for that 1 year and see, and then if guys retire after the Olympics, see if there's any spots. But I just couldn't be out of not playing high level 15s for that long and not getting on sevens tours. So I had to make a switch back to the Pride program and train with them. So it was definitely good, like being kind of an older guy on the team and being able to give some of the young guys, especially the guys who hadn't played much rugby before going to the Pride, try to help them up and develop and stuff. But I wasn't getting a contract in the MLR, so it was really my only choice was unless I want to go running on my own, is to go and play with the Pride so I could continue my skills, because, you know, you want to stay fit and you want to keep your skills up so that when you get the opportunity when COVID ends, you can go right back out there. I mean, I don't think if I was still training with the Pride that I would have been on that tour. Like, that was a huge opportunity for me to still not be playing professionally and still get selected for those games. So
you're a free agent for the MLR. Hopefully something comes up for you for next season, right? So that would be amazing.
Yeah, I'm definitely hoping for that. I'm hoping those 2 games. If I had gone that second try, it might have boosted my chances a bit more.
So close.
And hopefully there's a few other games that will come up that I'll play pretty well in, and then that might help get me a contract in the MLR next year. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Just when you put your video package in for the coaches, just make sure you don't put that high tackle in there.
Yeah. That's quite a bit flat-footed there, and I don't usually high tackle, but he's a big guy.
It. As a smaller guy, I appreciated what you did there. That's good. So let's talk a little bit about the World Cup. You were there in 2019. Unfortunately, you didn't get any playing time, but you were part of the experience. What did you learn from that? Like, what did you take from that experience of being at rugby's biggest stage?
I think just in general, I've always wanted to visit Japan too. So that was a pretty unique experience that I was just like, when am I ever going to get to do this again? Just the culture over there, and the people were so nice and so welcoming when I was there. And just playing, I guess not playing, but warming up in those games, like seeing how big the fan base was pretty incredible. Like, I was like, man, like, I would love to play in Japan. It'd be a great opportunity. But I think just it's cool to see, like, it gives me a little taste of like what, and a little bit more drive going into the next 3 years to go and make the next World Cups, because that just being there, like not getting to play, it's like, obviously I knew that I was a last minute call up and probably wasn't getting to play, but it just gave me that taste that makes me want it even more. So just something that gives me something to look forward to.
Yeah, France is only 2 years away, right? So that'll
Yeah.
be great. When you went over, like you said, you were a last minute call up. Did you have goals or did you have any expectations in mind about yourself? Did you know that, I'm probably not going to get him, so I need to train hard for the guys that are in the games? Like, what was your mindset?
I think I've been on a lot of tours where I haven't been the top guy and not get selected. Rep Shaw's was a long tour that I didn't get in. So I've kind of always, whether I'm playing or not, have the same mindset of trying to work as hard as I can and show that I can get selected, even though in the back of my mind, I know that there's not a high probability of getting selected. Giuseppe, he was my roommate and he got called up a week before I did. He ended up playing against South Africa. So I knew that there's still a possibility that I could get in, especially with all the games. They might want to rest guys to get guys ready for the last game. So I was still fighting for a spot and hoping that I get a spot. And after selection came out, you still train hard because there was a game that was supposed to happen the last week that didn't. So you just train hard no matter if you're on the bench or not starting or don't think you have a shot, because you never know. Like, I didn't know I was going to get called up, but then I did. So you never know when someone drops in training last minute, That summer, actually, I got called up again for tour. But before that, to go to Fiji because someone got hurt. And then for the Tonga game, I wasn't in the 23, and then someone was sick literally at the warm-up and couldn't go, and then I ended up getting in the 23. So you really never know if you can get selected. So you always have to be there and always training hard and always showing that if someone goes down, that you're the next guy to come up. That's how I got a lot of the caps that I've gotten. A lot of the minutes against high-level games have been just being healthy and being the next guy up. So, can't complain with that as long as you get the minutes.
As a coach, I would recognize that in a player. I'm sure Kingsley would do the same. Like, he would recognize that you've been there, working your tail off, making sure you're fit and ready to go. So you get, this spring tour to Wales and England, summer tour to Wales and England, and lo and behold, you start and play both games. A couple of tough losses for sure. A lot of positives in those matches as well from a viewer's point of view. And notably, you had those two really great tries. Like, you scored against Wales just a few minutes in. I jumped right out of off my chair, and you put another nice one in against England. Personally, what were your thoughts on those two matches? Like, as I said, there's a lot of positives, there's negatives as well. But for you, what did you think of the Welsh and English match there, just from a couple weeks back?
Well, definitely for the Wales game, when we scored the first try, cloud nine, I was like, okay, like, we're in this game, like, it's going to be a game, we're going to come at them. But then it's just unfortunate things kind of fell apart a bit. I think it's good because to get the taste of what like a tier 1 nation is and like how they play, it's just so much faster. And like, now I like know where I need to be and like what I have to be, what type of player I have to be if I want to get to playing the level that is against tier 1 nations more often. So I think a lot of us got that first taste. Some guys have played in pretty solid leagues, so they've gotten a bit more of a taste of that. But for me, like, definitely, I was like, okay, like, this is fast. Like, they're like nonstop. They're just so skilled. You can't make mistakes. I got a couple penalties where I'm not used to getting in refs that aren't necessarily as spot on as the refs in tier 1 nations. So that was a learning experience for me, knowing that like I can't do the same stuff or get away with things that I would normally get away with maybe in a tier 2 game. So definitely a huge learning experience for us. The second game, I think, was a bit more of a letdown than the first game for sure. I thought we were gonna do a bit better, but they just came out a bit harder than we thought, especially after watching the USA game. We thought we'd have a shot of putting a few more on the board, but this is just building towards making the World Cup, and that's always been the goal for these 2 games. So at the end of the day, win or lose, it's really about showing what you've got and like getting that experience and getting team cohesion, which I think we got a lot of. And I think coming into the tour with guys without a lot of time before to prep for this camp, we came out pretty decent and a lot better place than we would have been like previous years going on tours. So I think it puts us in a good position to kind of build up for the next set of games. Like I had only played 40 minutes of a game against UBC a week or two before coming out. And then that was the last set of 15s I played for almost a year. So that's definitely like nice to kind of get back into it and see how it is. But,
And then
this for us.
And then you're lining up at two of the most famous state rugby stadiums in the world a couple weeks later.
Yeah.
Daunting.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. When I was 18 years old, we went on tour to Wales and Twickenham, and watching Wales play in that stadium was the first like international rugby game I watched that like live pretty much. And like we went on a tour to Twickenham, and it was like I never thought I'm gonna be playing in this. I never even dreamed like one day hopefully I'll get to play in this. Like so it's like more than a dream come true to get to like come full circle and play in this stadium that I thought was so grand, and like that like I didn't even think that I'd ever be in a place to play in that. So that was like pretty surreal, especially coming off 2 years of like not playing rugby. Pretty like it was just like such an overwhelming experience. Like I teared up a little bit going into the first game. Like I was like, holy shit, like this is it.
This is intense.
Yeah, so I was pretty ecstatic.
It was nice in England too. There were fans that were allowed in. I don't think there were any in Wales, but you could see some on the camera in England.
In Wales too.
There were fans
not as much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was listening to the commentators, and they weren't overly, I guess, unapologetically. They weren't chastising Canada rugby. They were trying to make excuses. But I mean, one of the points that they made is that England and Wales are tier 1 teams. Canada's tier 2. But England and Wales, they both played at least 6 games this year with the Six Nations and everything else. And as you said, we haven't played since the World Cup. That 2 years difference, like you said, you played a handful of minutes with UBC, which is much different than going up against England or Wales. So all in all, I mean, the score lines were bad, but that England game, you take away their 5, I think they had 5 tries off of 5-meter lineouts. You take those away, you get a couple bounces your way. It's a 50-30 game instead of 70-14, right? So those little things, the speed of the game and how it's played like that, you can't get better unless you're playing those teams. So hopefully that helps against the US.
We talked a lot about too is that a lot of times in the leagues that we're playing in, you can afford to make a mistake, and that doesn't necessarily lead to a try. But against tier 1 nations, you make a mistake, like that's a try. That's them coming in. That's a 5-meter. You get a penalty. That's a 5-meter maul that they're gonna turn over and get a try out of. So that definitely is like we can't afford to be making silly penalties and mistakes. I definitely made a few too many, more than I normally would in a game. So that's the biggest difference is like they're clinical with their play. They can spin it wide and score off anything if we're not just switched on. They got, just like we got that first top penalty, they got a top penalty too later on. So we're paying attention. That's another 7 on the board. It's easy for them.
I said in one of my previous pods too, like all the 5-meter lineout tries they scored off those mauls. I think it was their 3rd or 4th one. And I said, I don't understand. Like, we know your maul's working. Try something else. Like, go against the English brain and do something creative as opposed to what you're doing. But they didn't listen. Eddie didn't listen to me. Eddie Jones there.
Yeah. I think I heard something about the fact that they're trying to get back into what is the core of like what England rugby is core of, which is set piece. So I think that's probably why they're doing that a lot, because they want to get back to the identity of how they like to play rugby. So
it works.
I mean, if it's working,
yeah,
I know sometimes I'm having a game and our forwards just mauling. I'm like, come on, give us a shot with the ball. We want to play rugby, but it's a whole different game, the set piece.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Kai, we're at our section now that we call the quick fire. So we got about 20 questions here, half rugby, half more personality. If you're ready to give it a go.
Yep.
All right. I call it quick fire, but some guests complain that they have to think too long in these ones. So this is usually where I do most of my editing, just taking out some silence, but it's okay. That's on me. All right, let's start. Question 1, 7s or 15s?
7s. I love 7s. I'm just not big enough.
All right, 7s. Second question, what's the best team, or who's the best team you ever faced?
That's a tough question. I'd say probably the Maori. Actually, I guess Wales was the The toughest team that I've ever faced.
I had a good squad. All right, who's the best player you've ever faced?
The best player I've ever faced.
It doesn't have to be like a wing that you lined up against. It could be somebody else on the pitch that, really stands out too.
Joshua Tuisova, that's his name, right?
I think so.
Yeah, Joshua. I'm so bad with names from players. That's the one thing about me is that I don't like to focus too much on the other players and their stuff. I just kind of focus on what I can do.
Okay.
So I don't get too like who I'm playing against. But
a little bit of respect, but not too much.
He wasn't just pretty good; he was really good.
What's the best match you were ever a part of?
I'd say one of my favorite matches. I'd have to go with a Queens match, the Queens finals. Probably the last one because it was like a combination of 5 years of playing rugby at that school, and just I played really well and our team played really well, and to finish it off with a bang and get the gold medal, that was pretty awesome for us. And I think it meant a lot for the boys and the community at Queens for us to win. So yeah, that'd probably be the best game I've ever played.
Awesome. Best team you ever played with? Same team, do you think?
Well, I mean, Team Canada is the best team. But I've had a lot of fun with Queens playing with them. I've had a lot of fun with Canada, so it's kind of a tie between Queens and Canada. But I've enjoyed quite a lot playing with both teams, for sure.
That's fair. All right, who's the player that you love to smash?
Let's see. This one of the guys in the Pride program, Deshaun. He and I played at the same club growing up in Mississauga Blues, and I've always seen him as this guy that I knew could make it really far, and I love seeing him keep going, and he's doing really well with himself. But I also like egging him on a little bit and getting competitive. We have a little competition always going. So whenever one of us says something against the other guy, it's a big deal for us, and we always rub each other's face. So definitely, Deshaun, I love whenever I get a little step on him or smash him.
That's awesome. A lot of players say it's one of their teammates. That's great. All right, Kai, what's your nickname?
That is my nickname, Kai. My full name's Kai Noah, so I just go by Kai usually. Okay. I don't have much of the nicknames other than Soccer Lawyer, which is my email. So sometimes they say that as a joke. Some people call me Quinoa, but kind of gets old the first few 3 or 4 times.
Any rugby superstitions?
Not huge ones, just pre-game. I usually like to keep things pretty consistent. I like to kick the ball around. I like to do at least one drop goal, even though I'm never going to hit one in the game. Just something that I like to do. Just kind of keeps the edge off, keeps the nerves low. Not to practice it. It's just kind of to kind of keep calm, just have a little bit of fun, and remind me that rugby's about having fun and not just always have to be serious about it.
Okay, that's good. What's your favorite rugby tradition?
Watching the Hawk has just been super awesome to see when they do it. When I first started playing rugby, before we even were out on the field, we watched the All Blacks play, and that's kind of the team that my high school had modeled our team after. So our jerseys were black too, and that was the team that I've always been introduced as the best in the world. So watching them do this stuff has always been amazing. The Hawk is just a cool thing to watch.
Absolutely. All right. What was your first Cap song?
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
All right. So you have to sing a little bit of it too.
Oh man. It takes a while to remember, but
in West Philadelphia.
Born and raised on the playground is where I spent most of my days. Chill, relaxed, and that's all I got so far.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's pretty good. All right.
I haven't seen this in a while, so it's hard to remember. But I used to watch it every day.
Yeah, we bring it up every once in a while on Netflix or Crave or wherever it is. I used to love that show too. All right, important question. Axe throwing tournament for world domination. Choose your 3 teammates.
3 teammates for axe throwing.
World domination at that, it's important stuff.
I'd have to say Isaac Olsen. He's got a pretty strong arm. Okay. I think he played a bit of baseball growing up in QB, so he's got a strong arm. I'd say Lucas Rumble just because he's my housemate. I know what he's got. No surprises there. So I know he's going to be a solid pick.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I guess I'll just say Foster because I'm quarantining with him right now. So
Fair enough. All right. What's the most used app on your phone?
the most used app on my phone.
You can't say WhatsApp.
Yeah, it probably would have been WhatsApp, but let me see it. Probably What's Simple or Instagram. I check those pretty often every day.
Fair enough.
So
All right. One for fun and one to make some cash. That's not bad. All right. Kai, what's your go-to food?
go-to food right now is I make a mean peanut butter pad thai with tofu in it. It's kind of a staple meal prep that I like to do. It's not too hard, but it tastes pretty good.
Sounds good.
Do that.
I thought you were going to say make a mean peanut butter sandwich and just leave it at that.
No.
All right. Chips or cookies?
Chips.
What kind of chips?
Miss Vicky's jalapeno chips are just the bomb.
They're good. French fries or onion rings?
French fries. I used to actually not like onions when I was growing up, so I only started eating them the past like 4 or 5 years, but fries all the way.
Okay. French fries or poutine?
Poutine, for sure.
Nice.
Costco poutine, especially. It's the best poutine in the world. So.
Costco, really? I'll have to try that. All right. What's your favorite beer? Sorry?
Actually can't. It makes me sick, so my favorite cider would be Strongbow.
Okay, Strongbow. Where's the best?
You can drink beer.
Where's
Pretty surprising.
There's a few that choose wine over beer. That's all right. Where's the best place for a post-match cider?
Just at the hotel with the guys. You can't get better than that. Just all the guys on your team just having a couple of drinks and enjoying each other's company is pretty great.
Yeah, I like that too. That's a good one. All right. Which superhero would you be and why?
That's a tough question. My favorite superhero is Spider-Man, so
okay.
But I don't know if I want to necessarily have all his powers, but honestly, I guess I'd just say, let me think about this one. I'd say probably still Spider-Man, it's just, no, the Flash.
Flash?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would help you on the field too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. What is your favorite song or your favorite band?
What's your favorite
pump up music maybe or something like that? Yeah.
My pump up music it's pretty all over the place. Let me just check my phone because I'm not a big play a lot of different stuff. But my favorite song of 2021 has been what's that song called? La 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 by Area 21. It's a good song. But I listen to kind of a lot of top 40, just whatever. So I'm not a big music guy. I just kind of put on whatever. Stunning is a good one too by Curtis Waters. It's a pretty joke song. So
okay. What series are you binge watching right now? You're in quarantine, so you've got to be binge watching something.
Yeah, I'm binge watching X on the Beach. It's a pretty wild show. Just a bunch of reality TV stars who are just like the worst people, pretty much going at each other. So that's pretty fun. We have cable at our Airbnb, and it's got the game show. So watching a lot of different game shows, like Baggage is a pretty good one, where it's just it's kind of like a dating show where people show some of their baggage, and it gets pretty funny. So that mainly.
So reality television mostly, eh?
I wouldn't say like right now that's just happened to be what I picked, but I like mostly like sitcom. Like my favorite sitcom is Community. I watch a lot of Rick and Morty and stuff like that. So.
Okay, all right. What's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie is The Other Guys. I have seen The Other Guys over 20 times. It's by far, Will Ferrell is just the best. And just that movie, like every time you watch it, there's just a new scene that you just didn't really pick up on that's just so funny, and just like it gets funnier every time I watch it.
I'm gonna have to watch it again. All right, three quick fires left. Kai, who would play you in the Netflix movie of your life?
Who would play me in the next? I'd say just myself, Okay. I'm a decent actor, so
right.
I go out there and get the bills paid.
Okay, all right. So you're playing the lead in the movie of your life. Who's playing the leading opposite? Who's playing the leading lady?
That's a tough question. I'm single right now, so
it can be anybody you want then.
anyone. If I had to pick a celebrity crush, I'd say put in Ariana Grande. She's
That's a good shout.
pretty amazing with her life. Pretty talented artist, so I'd have her go and get back into acting. She used to act a lot before she was doing singing, so yeah,
Okay.
Ariana Grande definitely.
You've done your homework on her, haven't you?
Yeah.
All right. Last one here. What would the movie be called? The simple
Me,
one.
myself, and
Me, Myself, and Kai?
yeah.
Nice. I like that. I like that's good. All right. Thanks for those. We only got a few questions left. Kai, who had the biggest impact on you as a player? You've mentioned a few names from the past. Does anybody stand out, or is it a collective of coaches and family and friends and stuff like that?
I think it's quite a collective. I've had really supportive coaches who I keep in contact with, who really have pushed me, and obviously, you know, my mom and my dad have driven me hours to practice countless times. So like without them, without the financial support that they gave when I was younger, I wouldn't be able to do what I do now, and I wouldn't have made all those teams and had the opportunities. So without them, especially, like they've been the biggest impact in terms of supporting me. But in terms of like coaching and like who like has really like, pushed me forward, you know, my coaches, like my high school coaches, there's a few of them. Mark Smurden, Mike Curran, and my university coach, Pete Hugenboss. Those guys have been there for majority of my career and have always supported me and believed in me and pushed me to get better and better. So definitely like those three coaches and then my parents who have supported me and gotten me to where I need to be all the time.
It's awesome. So one of the things with rugby, when you're playing professionally in North America, at least, is that, you know, you're a professional athlete. And when you think you're a professional athlete, you can support your family, but rugby, not quite there yet in North America. So maybe someday that'll happen.
Yeah, it's definitely getting better and better. You know, one good thing is that I'm really financially responsible, and I like to save most of my money, so I can go and not have to have a job or just pick up a part-time job and be fine and know that I'll have enough money to survive. I know also with my degree that hopefully after done rugby, it makes a decent amount of money. So I'm not too worried about financials as long as I can survive. So yeah, it's not enough to support a family, but it's enough to support yourself if you're responsible with how you use your money.
That's fair. What did you say? It's computer science you have your degree in?
Yeah, computer science and film.
Awesome.
So if anyone on the podcast is looking for an internship from a rugby player, just give me a shout.
There you go. All right. What makes rugby different from other sports? Like, what would you tell somebody that was on the fence of trying rugby for the first time? Like, what separates it from other sports?
The culture for sure. No, I don't think any other sport has the same culture and like the way that rugby players give back and stay involved in the community is just something that you just don't really see as much in other sports. You know, coming from soccer, you do have a lot of volunteers in soccer, but you know, the whole like you're part of this club and part of this family for life kind of thing is a rugby thing, I think, and I think it's pretty unique. I see a lot of guys from football and stuff. They're not friends with like other teams, and like it's like all about their team. Where it's like rugby, like it's a community that, you know, once you're part of it, you can go like I can go like almost any province and have a place to stay because I'm a rugby player and find someone who I've played with before, and I know they would host me up for a bit. You know, you can make friends very easily because that's what it's about. It's not just about the on field. It's about as much the off field and like grabbing a drink with your mates and being more of a community and giving back. So that's what I really love about it. You know, on the field, definitely a unique sport, a lot of physicality with a lot of respect to how people play, but the off field is what really makes rugby so much different from any other sport.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I love that answer. Kai, what are your thoughts on what makes a great team player?
I think a great team player, you know, there's different roles that people play. I think knowing your role is really important. Sometimes you have too many guys who think there's, for example, who think they're a leader, and then when you're in a huddle, you have 10 people trying to say something. We don't necessarily need that many people talking. Sometimes guys who are leaders don't speak up enough when they have something good to say. So it's finding that balance of knowing your role and helping guys out when you can, and lifting people up and not bringing people down, or being kind of thinking it's all about like how you're doing. So, there's a lot of different roles, a lot of different aspects to being a good team player. It depends on what your role is and how if you're always thinking like, how can I make this team better and make myself better too, then that's a good start. As long as you're doing your role in the job and working hard and pushing other people, then sometimes that's all you need as a good team player. You don't need to be someone who's necessarily giving everyone advice. But, if you have advice to give, then that's also beneficial too. So I think there's different aspects of being a good team player, and it covers different roles. Just, if you know your role and you're supportive of each other and not getting on each other's back, and that leads to a good team cohesion.
That's awesome. That's really good. All right, let's fast forward a little bit to 2033. 10 years after the 2023 World Cup, a squad that you're on. What do you want those you're reminiscing, you're having a gathering with those guys from that 2023 team. What do you want them to be saying about Kai the player, Kai the man, Kai the person? What do you think they're saying about you?
I think I want them to say that, when he was on the field, he balled out. Like he was a player that was hard to tackle. He was a player that it's like that guy did a lot on the field, and he earned his jersey. Definitely, I want people to remember me as not that I'm getting a spot because no one else is there. I want to show that I deserve that spot, and that I put Rugby Canada, helped put Rugby Canada in a better place than it was when I didn't have the jersey. So if I'm known as one of the top guys, I look at try scoring. I want to be one of the top try scorers for Canada eventually. I want to keep scoring tries and hopefully win a bunch of games and go on the next World Cup. So guys know me as they're that guy. As long as a few guys, even if it's just a few guys looking up to me and being I want to play rugby so I can be like Kai, that'd be amazing. It doesn't have to be many, but I just want to, inspire more people to play and show that they can do it.
Awesome. I think that's great. I think that's a great thing to strive for. Lastly, Kai, any great stories, rugby stories, fun, what have you, that you can share with us? Throw a teammate under the bus, throw yourself under the bus. Maybe it's something that's not overly dangerous, but just fun in general.
I'm trying to think about any fun little stories that I can say. And honestly,
I can say. Like that.
That makes it a bit tough. I don't know if there's any kind of fun stories, just other than the experiences I've had, playing rugby in general and being on teams. Oh, I know one, it wasn't necessarily a fun story, but it's kind of an interesting story, is one time in kind of shows how good masks actually can be sometimes if we had this mask mandate or people use masks more often. But one time before our game in Edmonton, we were against Scotland. We went to the Edmonton Mall, and pretty much half the team got sick. We were all in quarantine, and we were just I remember thinking I was feeling kind of sick, and I was thinking oh, I don't want to be that guy who leaves practice. I'll just fight through it. It's not that bad. As practice went back, I was just oh, I really don't feel well. I was struggling, could barely move, just so disoriented. And then I'm looking over and seeing 4 or 5 people leave practice and what's going on? I'm oh man, I really do not feel well. So I ran to the bathroom, throwing up, super sick. All the guys were sick. We just this bug hit half the team, and we were all just so ill. It was crazy because it really could have luckily most of the guys got better in time for the game because it was early in the week. But there's guys who didn't get sick early in the week and end up getting sick on the day of the game, who was supposed to play, who couldn't play. And that really sucked for those guys because it was like Scotland was like top 5 or something at that point, I think. And to not be able to play that game, it's really sucked. But it's really crazy how many people got sick and how fast it spread to everyone. It was pretty much like most of the people who went to the mall got sick that day.
Yeah.
So that was pretty crazy. That many people were down sick, like really, like we were like really sick, like we're like bedridden. So
that's not a great memory, but
pretty
it's
crazy.
Yeah, it's not a fun memory, but it's a good story about power of masks and washing your hands, I guess, right? So.
Yeah, I've definitely like gotten sick a few times on tour. Been worried about playing. The first time I played against Fiji, that was actually pretty crazy game too. We had like 6 or 7 broken, like people breaking bones and stuff like that. 2 HIA concussions. I thought I was only gonna get 10 minutes in that game. I was coming off the stomach flu, could barely back at practice. And I was like, okay, like I can last 10 minutes. This is gonna be all right. Then suddenly I'm playing 60 minutes because of an HIA. Then a bunch of injuries. Matt Heaton, who's a flanker, is playing 12.
Yeah.
Got like Tate Harris playing 9. So it was that was like my first tier 1 nation playing, and Fiji is just like so physical. I was like, holy, like this is what international rugby really is, eh? Just half our team getting injured. So that was pretty crazy, like how many injuries, like guys had like year-long injuries that they had come back from that. So that was pretty intense.
Fiji's got some big boys. They hit hard.
Yeah.
Right. Kai, listen, thanks.
All tragic stories, but I don't know if I have too many funny stories that I can really share. So
well, those are good. Well, that reminds me of coaching high school. You know, one player goes down and all of a sudden you've got to bring one person in and shift like 6 people around to kind of make it fit properly. It's kind of funny.
Yeah. Tough sometimes.
Yeah. Anyway, listen, it's been a pleasure chatting with you, Kai. I really appreciate you taking.
So thanks a lot for having me on.
No, it's been a long time coming, and I appreciate you taking the time while you're quarantining and trying to stay fit. And wish you the best of luck with Canada and getting your job in computer science and making some fortunes there, so you can support your folks here soon, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully I can get back to this community.
There you go. Anyway, thanks very much. Cheers. Thanks so much, Kai. It was a lot of fun chatting with you. Get to know you a little bit. It was pretty pleasurable to hear your side of things and talk about your time in the NMLR, your time with Rugby Canada, and your future aspirations. Great free agent. I imagine one of these teams are going to be picking you up soon in MLR, and you're going to have an outstanding few seasons coming up with whichever smart franchise that is. Coming soon, next pod is going to feature Ander Monroe. And I'm chatting with Thunder Indigenous Rugby this week, so they'll be coming up soon. Trying to line up dates still with Connor Keys and Joss Larson. And Harry Jones and the men's sevens, they're back, so now it's just trying to organize a time. And same goes with Alicia Alare. Lastly, just want to thank everybody. COVID seems to be coming back in some parts of the world, and it's staying dormant in others, so knock on wood that those places where it's doing well, it continues to do well. And those places where it seems to be on the rise, that we get a hold of it and stamp it out so that we can try and get life back to normal, whatever normal happens to be. As always, got to thank everybody for listening and following along. Just keep spreading that good rugby word. Make sure other people hear these rugby stories. Again, always got to thank my son Rylan for supplying us with our tunes. It's great when my son said he wanted to do our intro and outro music, so he just created it on computer, and it's great that he wanted to be part of this with me. Until next time, this is Jamie. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay sane. And you know what's next. Keep on rocking.